Mechanical Fiend's new project is themed Overgrown, and I'm gonna try making a new version of this house that is overgrown. And I'm gonna try using the methods that I failed at last time. This is one of the failures. The brickwork down here just doesn't look good. So I've got a new glue pen, and I've got new pen holders for my silhouette that a friend of mine printed out for me. And I've got this asparagus stuff that I harvested from my garden, and we will see how it works. So I did some tests using the new pen holders, and it works good. And I've got my Silhouette Studio set up to cut a new version up here. First thing I'm going to do is the blue lines, which are the woodwork, and then I'm going to cut it out, and then lastly I'm going to do the glue, so that way it is as wet as possible when I go to use the embossing powder. I've got my heat gun at the ready, so yep, here I go. So I actually lost the footage from the first time I recorded this, so I'm just going to re-record it. It turned out really well the first time, so let's see how the embossing powder works this time. I just need to get it off of the mat. So this is a mirrored version of the same house, and I took off the dormer on the front just to make it a little bit different. Figured I'd have a lot of variations of this house, and this one can maybe go next to one of the other ones. Probably not the overgrown one, the old one would be more likely. Some of the windows didn't come out correct when I just peeled it off, so I'll have to deal with that in a minute. Okay, that looks a little sloppier than the first time. Hit it with the heat gun. That turned out a lot less good than the last one, which you'll see later in the video. The whole point is that I can kind of almost mass produce these now. Let's punch out these windows that didn't punch out when I was picking it. For the mortar, I'm just going to color it in with this gray marker. I'm going to score these edges. Now, the last time I did this over the bricks, it actually took some of the bricks up. I think they don't adhere as well to this other glue, but the glue makes a lot better lines. Instead of dragging along there, I'm going to roll it along there. It seems to work a lot better. Then these are the tabs for the roof. Since I took out the front dormer on this version, this area will be a lot simpler, but you'll see later in the video that the version that ends up overgrown does have that dormer. The alignment on this is way better than the last one, though. The wood paneling and the cutouts are like perfectly aligned, which is great. So yeah, in the next shot, the house is obviously going to look different because it's literally a different house. Now you get to see the rest of the overgrown build. I've got the chipboard pieces to be the internal supports. Well, most of them internal. This one on this stick is going to be external on this side. And I'm going to cover this one in gesso, and the others I'm going to paint around the window sills in brown just to help them blend in a bit. Not only does this support the sides to make them a little bit less flexible, it will also give a little bit of dimension to the windows. So I guess gesso has plaster of Paris in it. When I was cutting these out, I didn't quite get them fully cut out on the silhouette. Particularly this piece I was cutting out and got a little nick in it at the bottom. So I'm hoping that by using gesso, which has some plaster in it, I can cover up that and seal it together. So this is cereal box chipboard, and I sanded the back so that hopefully stuff will stick to the glossy side. I don't need to cover this entire side because it will be glued. Just trying to get the edges where it might show. You can see that it's warping. Shouldn't surprise me that much. I think it'll be okay. So I've got this glossy black paper from an old National Geographic, and that is going to be the windows, like the glass part. So I'm going to cut out the basic outline of what I'm going to use on the silhouette, and then I'm going to use this empty ink pen to trace where the windows will be, just so that I have an idea of where it is, and then I will use a brown Posca pen to draw in the window pane lines on that. So now I have to figure out how I can arrange my pieces so that I can cut them out of this piece. First thing I'm going to do is score those blue lines where the windows are. So I need my empty pen now to cut out the red lines. You can see what I did last time. To get the light at an angle so I can see those lines. Just a little angled surface so I can see the lines while I draw. Put some sticky tack on there so that way it doesn't move around. The last time I did this, I just kind of had to guess. It didn't turn out too great. I think this is going to turn out a lot better. Okay, looks good. Okay, looks good. Since this piece is going to go on the outside here, I'm going to glue this tab to the outside where it will get covered over by that. If I glued it to the inside, you might see the seam when you looked here. This is some material I made. It's cloth with paper backing that I glued to it, and then I painted it to look kind of like a roof. And I've got these templates that I cut out on my silhouette cutter for the last one I made. So now I'm going to cut them out. For this one, I did it on a diagonal. This time I'm going to try going with the grain just to see how that looks. I never did try cutting this material on the silhouette. It just seemed like it would be too much. I wouldn't have to do the dormers in the exact same place as the original. I could make a couple different templates for different houses. I'm going to stick with it for this one. I guess the one issue with cutting this on the silhouette would be I couldn't line up the grain of the cloth very easily because I didn't line it up well with the sides of the paper. Don't know that that would matter that much. I'm just being picky like usual. Just gonna use a marker and just color in these white edges. This one's all cut out. I did a test fit and it fits well. I need to add the little dormers in here. I make those out of regular copy paper because the folds are so fine that trying to do it in cardstock would be pretty hard. These are the last pieces I am making on the silhouette. The rest will be done by hand. Need 13 of these. Some of them I messed up on the file, so I'm setting those aside so I don't have to fix them if I don't need them. It's the problem with copy paper on this sticky mat. It can be difficult to get it off cleanly. This is the low tack mat, but copy paper is pretty weak. And I just need to make these little fine folds. And then I color in the window black with a marker. Might be easier to make this piece out of a little piece of wood or something, but this is fine. I repeated that process for all the little dormers, and I've glued the two main roof panels in place on the little tabs that I included on the walls. And I remembered that I actually did have another template for this piece here. How did I glue that on before? Okay, I added some tabs underneath the other roof panels. That makes sense. For those little panels, I'm going to want to use copy paper. I think I'm not going to bother with this piece this time. This little chimney. I need to add a little support inside the roof to hold these two pieces together. Now I'm just going to have to add strips to all of these junctions, just strips of copy paper that I'll paint to match the roof. Paint this inner area, then add some plants to make it overgrown. So I also, when I was looking in my bits box, I found these plants that came from a little model kit. I think they will work well. I've also got some sawdust flocking that I will be using. The same stuff that I used for the cabbages in the last video. I've got this piece that I cut out on the silhouette. That's a little balcony piece that goes here. Go right there. This one will be brown. I'm going to paint this before I attach it. I think I want to have the brush strokes go vertical because that is the direction the wood grain would go on this. Because I'm going to be drawing separate planks. I'm just going to add some black lines. Paint it brown inside here just in case it's visible somehow. For this porch area, I also need to make some supports that go up, so I'm just going to cut a thin strip of this card. Got this strip of regular copy paper that is just, I folded it and then I cut just a thin strip right along that folded edge that I can use to trim these seams to clean them up. That I will paint after I attach it. Let's see if I can mix a color to match that roof. Now I need a slightly lighter version to do just a couple dots here and there. Okay, it's all dry, so now it's time to add the plants. This just didn't look quite right at the scale, so I think I need to place individual little stems to make it look like a vine. Okay, I've done two sides, or at least started two sides. I'm gonna let them dry and see how they look once they're dry. It's had some time to dry now, and I think the flocking is the important bit. I think this level of putting strands on looks good. On this side I just kind of threw it on there because I was wanting there to be more, but I think the flocking makes it look a lot better. So I'm going to just add a bunch of flocking. I feel like it's too yellow of a green. So everything's dry, but there are a few things I'm still not happy with. This stuff I don't like the color of it. I think it needs to be brown. So I'm going to use some markers to color that. And the finish on some of the plants is a little bit shiny or something, so I'm going to add some paint. Yeah, something about the way I applied some of this just makes it a bit too even. I got lazy, mixed the flocking with water and glue, and that just kind of doesn't look as good. Let's see what adding some yellow does. Okay, there are a couple other places I need to clean up a bit from shininess from the glue. We'll see if I ruin it. I'm thinking of painting some gesso on this side a little bit more. It's definitely a risk. Got gesso on the window. I think it's time to leave it alone and let it dry. One last thing I want to do, there's a little bit of squish, so I'm just going to add a brace to the inside. I did the same thing with the other one to keep that corner at a 90. If one corner is kept at 90, the others will follow suit. I'm going to call that done. I could have gone more overboard on the plants, but I decided to not go too crazy with it. I think it looks plenty overgrown, and I think it looks great. Talk to you next time.